Live only on DAZN, he silenced Britain's best, Usyk the Brit Breaker, but now the dynamite is ready to explode. One night, one shot at Undisputed, Usyk versus Dubois 2, July 19th, right now at DAZN.com/boxing.
Alright people, let's talk Jake Paul very quickly. I know people don't tend to like massively when I talk about Jake Paul because normally when I'm talking about Jake Paul, it's a post-fight review. It's a review of a fight that was not particularly entertaining. Obviously his fight with Chavez Jr. was not amazing, nor in particular was that farcical display against Mike Tyson from both guys. It was one of the most, it was such a horrendous cash grab. Honestly, it doesn't even bear thinking about. It really doesn't. But for the most part, I don't go in too hard on the guy. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm of the belief that boxing is a difficult sport, both physically and mentally, and to do it, and to want to carry it on and do it when you don't have to and you're set for life, it takes a certain degree of cojones. So I don't want to be too massively critical on the guy for that, and I'm not really going to be critical of him necessarily in this video again, but I have just seen, this is from Everything Boxing, to quote them, the WBA have now ranked Jake Paul at number 14 in their cruiserweight rankings after his win over Julio César Chávez Jr. He is now eligible as a potential challenger for Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez. That is absolutely disgraceful. That is shocking from the WBA. A win over a nearly 60-year-old Mike Tyson and a washed-up, shot to bits who was never that good to begin with, Julio César Chávez Jr., who was a champion at 160 pounds and looked awful, god-awful, has been fighting once a year against who's he, and lost to Anderson Silva, an MMA guy who was in his mid-40s. I think he was definitely in his mid-40s. 4 years ago. What the hell? Look at these rankings. Look at these rankings, right? Look at these rankings, right? So, and the WBA and the WBC, they're one and the same. I mean, the WBA have bridgerweight rankings here. I know they're only the WBCs, but the fact they're even acknowledging it, where the other ones just say, no, tells you everything. Number one's not ranked. Leonardo Mosquete, I can't say he rings a bell. Leonard Perez, Alois, that's not Alois Jr., is it? Why? Seriously, 4? Really? Mike Perez, Gunamarian, former champion, he's down at number 6. Dorty Coase in at number 7. Umar Salamov, 8. Chris Billum Smith, 9. Roman Fries, Alexei Ergrova, Alex Papin, all right, Giovanni Christian Scudori, I think is how you say his name, Jake Paul and Craig Parker. That's not a particularly stellar, to say the least, rankings. And I know I should have really had this up on screen already, but I know we don't like BoxRec rankings because they're a little bit, they're all over the shop, BoxRec rankings. It's computerized, but because there's no like mandatory system or anything like that, you do get a more accurate ranking of where people are. It's not always accurate, you know. If you're a fighter, if say a fighter just happens to be in at number 1, like I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was oh blimey, I can't remember how it worked, but it had Eubank Jr. as like the number 1 super middleweight in the world because he beat, I think, Arthur Abraham or so. It's very abstract, right? But it can normally give you an accurate indication. So on BoxRec, and I'm surprised Tommy Fury is this high. He's ranked number 64 in the world, according to BoxRec, and Jake Paul is ranked number 69. Sefa Safiri is ahead of him in BoxRec rankings. And when I look, obviously you've got the champions, all right? We've got Opataya and Zurdo. But like CBS, who's ranked number 8 by the WBA, he's ranked in there at number 3. Seslak, who I believe won the weekend, Papin, Umar Salamov, Mike Perez, Ryan Rosicki, Krzysztof Wladacek, Badu Jack, Robin Safar, Martis Mastanek, Kovalev's ranked there. I thought he retired. But you see, favorite Arsenal, Jesus, he's 54, still knocking around. Holy crap! Didn't even realise that. Vidal Riley, where's he in the rankings? Seriously, Jack Massey. These rankings are an absolute flippin' joke. You know what I mean by flippin'. When I say that, you know what I'm really saying. This is ridiculous, and this right here I can't excuse. again, Jake Paul is not the one coming up with the rankings, but at the end of the day, they're trying to just push any bit of money they can get. Oh, Jake Paul is a WBA ranked contender in the world. He's not really though, is he? As I said, you know, I was on his box right there a second ago before looking at the top, 70. And Jake Paul, Julio César Chávez Jr. in his last, his last 6 bouts, it's a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a win. In Mike Tyson, I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm just, honestly, Michael Perry, who was 0-1, Ryan Berland, who was 7-2, right, that was in 2024, Andre August, who was 10-1-1, Nate Diaz, who was making his debut, lost to Tommy Fury, Anderson Silva, 3-1, who beat Julio César Chavez, Tyrone Woodley twice, Ben Askren. These are all dead. Look at all these debuts. How did, like, if you were talking about a prospect in the UK or US who had this type of resume, you would say, limited amateur background, meh. But you wouldn't be upset about it because you know there was no ranking involved. There was no chance of him fighting for a world title. People, he is ranked. It's ridiculous by the WBA. It's absolutely ridiculous. And to me, right, the WBA, they're not listed by BoxRec, which I don't agree with. As bad as WBA can be, the history is still there. You can't just erase the history. It just doesn't work like that. I know a lot of people would love to try and do that in the world in general, but you just can't do that. At the end of the day, they don't do themselves any favours with crap like this. I mean, Jake Paul shouldn't be anywhere near the rankings, and they just put him in casually at number 15 or 14, so as though he's eligible to fight Zurdo Ramirez. Jake Paul mentions, the likes of Zurdo, he mentions the likes of Anthony Joshua. I'd be very surprised if he fights any of them. And the fact of the matter is, he can get a world title crack without having to face anyone, any of his contemporaries in the top 15. I mean, at the end of the day, he's not going to fight Mike Perez, he's not going to fight Alois Jr. I can't believe he's ranked number 4. Seriously. I mean, CBS got a decent enough win against Glanton back on the undercard of Ben Eubank, and he's ranked below Alois. And say it, Mike Perez, like, I mean, you beat Stephen Ward, no disrespect, but seriously. So, yeah, these rankings are an absolute flipping disgrace. They really are. I wonder what the heavyweight rankings are like with the WBA, because they're known for being, oh my good lord. When I open the rankings, I've got 3 heavyweight champions. I've got Usyk, I've got Kubrat Pulev. I ain't buying that. And then I have Wardley as the interim champion. Michael Hunter is the champion. He's the gold champion. Moses the Talmud number 2. Miller number 3. Lenina Pero number 4. Piccoli 5. Piccoli's ahead. Piccoli's lost. And he's drawn. Why is he like? Honestly, Filip Hrgovic 6. Dante Pertgru, never heard of him. Nelson Yassa, he's that Albanian guy Frank Warren signed. Dave Allen in there at number 9. Wasn't Johnny Fisher in the rankings? Was it them or the WBO? It was one. Oh, it was WBO. Mawel Char number 10. Why is he still there? Kasiev number 11. What's he done? Justice Hooney number 12. He's just lost. Pero Daniel Pero in there number 13. Don't know who this guy is. Yoandy Torek, Cuban fighter. Okay. And Joseph Goodall. Wow. I mean, that is just stellar, isn't it? It really is. They left no stone unturned with those rankings. Best be believing that. Absolute joke from the WBA. Don't agree with it. Don't like it. They can't do this, but they will, unfortunately. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. And until next time, peace.